The House Judiciary Committee gears up for its first impeachment hearing on Wednesday. President Trump's lawyers have indicated he will not participate.
The White House has slammed the committee for holding the hearings during this week's NATO summit and cited the, quote, lack of due process and fundamental fairness of the inquiry. CBS News chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes has more on this escalating showdown.
In a letter last night to the House Judiciary Committee, the chief White House counsel said, "We do not intend to participate in your Wednesday hearing because it exacerbates the complete lack of due process and fundamental fairness for the president."
This is a complete American waste of time right here.
Congressional Republicans this weekend criticized the Democrats' accelerated timeline.
They want to get at this president right now before before everybody completely sees through the process sham of the elections for next year.
Lawmakers on the House Intelligence Committee will get just one day to review a report drafted over the Thanksgiving break. The report summarizes weeks of hearings and depositions and will be sent to the Judiciary Committee tomorrow, just in time for Wednesday's hearing.
We are going to proceed expeditiously.
Members of the Judiciary Committee will take those findings, plus hear testimony from constitutional scholars before they draw up articles of impeachment. Democrats will lay out their case that the president abused his office by withholding military aid to pressure Ukraine to investigate his campaign rival, Joe Biden. Democrats argue the best way for White House lawyers to defend the president is to show up.
If he has not done anything wrong, we're certainly anxious to hear his explanation of that.
The White House has not ruled out participating in future hearings, but it must make a decision by Friday and propose possible witnesses.
I think it would be to the president's advantage to have his attorneys there. That is his right. But I can also understand how he is upset at the illegitimate process.
Nancy Cordes joins us now from Capitol Hill with more on this fast-moving impeachment battle. So, Nancy, what can we expect this week, and what could come out of Wednesday's hearing?
So the first thing that we're going to see this week is this draft report that the House Intelligence Committee really put together at a breakneck speed over the past week while the rest of us were off celebrating Thanksgiving, perhaps traveling. Staffers for the Intelligence Committee were busy writing in secure rooms in the basement of the Capitol. And so they are going to lay out their findings for fellow House Intelligence Committee members to peruse today, and then tomorrow the Intelligence Committee will vote on that report and send it off to the House Judiciary Committee, which is the committee that is now taking over this process. They're holding that hearing on Wednesday to look into constitutional precedents for impeachment, and as they start to figure out exactly what these articles of impeachment might entail, they're going to hold a hearing with constitutional scholars and law professors to sort of look back at how impeachment has been handled in the past. And so this is all moving extremely quickly, so quickly, in fact, that we don't even know yet who the witnesses are who are going to be testifying on Wednesday.
So, Nancy, you know that the president so far is refusing to participate in this. In a letter to the House Judiciary Committee, White House counsel Pat Cipollone said an invitation to an academic discussion with law professors does not begin to provide the president with any semblance of fair process. Will that hold any weight with the Judiciary Committee? I mean, it's the president. The president has been saying all along that this process is unfair to him. Members of Congress are saying, look, come and testify before us and we'll put everything to light.
Right. And, the Judiciary Committee has made it very clear all along. It's the White House's call whether they want to participate or not. If they come, then the lawyers for the White House will be allowed to question the witnesses. If they don't come, then that questioning will be done by lawmakers. So, while they issued this invitation last week to the White House, they were never, under any great assumption that actually the White House would show up. And in fact, we now know that White House lawyers lawyers are not going to show up. And, basically they're saying that if they were going to question the witnesses, A, they'd like to know who they are in advance and have time to prepare. B, this hearing is going to be based on a report that no one has seen yet. And C, they want the chance to question, they say, fact witnesses rather than these expert witnesses who are going to be testifying. They say that this is essentially an academic exercise that's going to be taking place on Wednesday. They want a chance to interview the individuals who have gone before and who have actually said that they either saw or participated in this scheme to pressure Ukraine in order to get Ukrainian officials to investigate the president's campaign rival, Joe Biden. Finally, the White House is arguing you chose a day that the president is not even going to be in town. They're arguing that the House Judiciary Committee, run by Democrats, did this on purpose because they know that the president is going to be traveling in London. The reality is actually much more mundane, and that is the fact that Democrats are just trying to get this done as quickly as possible because they're hoping that they can wrap up this impeachment process by the end of December when everyone goes home for the holidays. Democrats say they're just trying to be expeditious. Republicans say they're rushing this process and that it's not fair to the president.
So, Nancy, it certainly seems like a fair request to know who's going to be testifying in a couple of days, really. Why is it that Chairman Jerry Nadler has not revealed who the witnesses are?
That's a great question, and it's unclear. It is highly unusual to have a hearing, especially hearing of this high a profile taking place in 2 days, and not to know who the witnesses are. These are not secret individuals. This is not somebody who is, their identity is being protected because they witnessed something untoward. These are supposedly constitutional scholars and law professors. So it isn't clear why we don't know the names yet. We do know that there are supposed to be 4 individuals on the panel, 3 chosen by Democrats, 1 chosen by Republicans. And Republicans are going to seize on this to say, see, this is a perfect example of the fact that Democrats are so desperate to move quickly that they are not following normal procedures. And Democrats haven't given us a great explanation for why they haven't named these individuals. In fact, over the weekend, some Democrats on the committee admitted that even they don't know who's going to be testifying on Wednesday.
Nancy, the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, Representative Doug Collins, has called for Adam Schiff to testify before the House Judiciary. Any chance of that happening at all? And what's the strategy behind that?
That's unlikely right now. The reason that Collins and some Republicans have called for Adam Schiff to testify is because they claim that he himself is now a fact witness because a member of his staff on the Intelligence Committee met early on with the whistleblower, the individual who sort of sparked this entire controversy by writing up a 9-page memo that has proven to be largely true, that laid out the president's phone call with the president of Ukraine and the concerns that a lot of people in the White House had about pressure that was being placed on Ukraine. Republicans say that this was a secret meeting between the whistleblower and Schiff's staff, and that it shows that there was some kind of intent there to massage the process. What Schiff has argued is that he himself never met with the whistleblower. This was simply an individual who was trying to figure out how to get his complaints to the right individual and to make sure it would be acted upon. And they told him or her to go to the Inspector General's, to the Intelligence Committee's Inspector General and file a report there. They said it was a very routine conversation that didn't involve a whole lot of substance, and that Adam Schiff is in no way a witness himself to this unfolding scheme.
Nancy, before we let you go, Senator John Kennedy appeared on NBC News this weekend. Now, this is in the wake of last week's appearance on a Sunday talk show where he had to walk back some comments that he made about Ukraine meddling in the 2016 election. He walked that back after appearing, I believe it was on Fox last Sunday, right?
And then he sort of tiptoed forward again.
It tiptoed forward. Sounded like he dove head into, again, something that our intelligence agencies, folks that have testified before the the Congress have said simply did not happen, that the Ukraine was not responsible for meddling in the 2016 election. In fact, what some are saying is Senator Kennedy was pushing Vladimir Putin's talking notes. So what are you hearing from folks on the Hill, perhaps even his office, as to what exactly he was getting at?
Well, you know, there's a lot of semantics going on here. He walked back his initial claim that Ukraine had hacked the 2016 election. He said, okay, they weren't involved in hacking, but they may have been involved in meddling. Well, meddling is a very vague term. In this case, some Republicans have used the term meddling to sort of cover the fact that some Ukrainian leaders didn't want candidate Trump to be president of the United States, and they were open about it on social media or in one case in an op-ed. Democrats say that's not meddling. That's just world leaders making their preferences known. That is not in the same universe as Russian meddling or interference, where they systematically hacked Democratic emails and released them to damage the Democratic nominee. But Republicans who have been looking for ways to defend this president, to explain why he might have withheld military aid from Ukraine, some alternate explanation to the one that all the witnesses have given, which is that he wanted to pressure Ukraine into investigating his campaign rival. What Republicans in some cases have done is to say, well, of course, President Trump was suspicious of Ukraine. That nation meddled in the 2016 election. That really runs counter to what the intelligence community has said. You heard even a witness, Fiona Hill, say that it plays right into Russian hands to blame the Ukrainians rather than the Russians for what happened. But some Republicans, and John Kennedy is clearly in that group, feel that it is important to defend the president in this way.
All right, Nancy, thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome.